Welcome to the Nerdy Old Man Podcast, the greatest nerd, geek, and pop culture podcast in history. With your hosts, the old bald man Chad.
Come on, man, this is a fun place. Don't be a dick.
And Redneck Wes.
There's something to be said about a guy in a little robot suit.
Hey everybody, that's right. Welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Old Man Podcast. Oh, it's not funny yet. Thank you very much. The crowd is lovely and lively tonight. And here we are always with good old Redneck Wes.
Hey,
What's up, everybody?
I'm doing good, man. We're trying some new stuff out today on the show.
That's right.
This is something new. Chad and I are actually in the man cave.
That's correct.
And we actually got a new piece of equipment, trying it out for the first time today. So we really hope that we figure all the buttons and everything out, and we hope you enjoy it. We hope it kind of brings a little more professionalism to the show.
We definitely don't want to fail, that's for sure.
He's got too many buttons.
That's right. Right. But we got a special guest with us today.
Yes, we do. We got Cosplay Cody in the house with us today. So
Hello.
thanks for joining us today, buddy.
We didn't scare him off the first time, but he's in person this time, so that might end it right now. So
In the beautiful man cave.
that's right. Yeah, this is the one room in the house that I'm allowed to have, that my family lets me have, and I cram it full of all good geekness, I guess. So.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, Dr. Doom is going home with me
Yeah,
today. So.
I will cut your head off. So what is our subject of banter today, Wes?
Well, I know we kicked some ideas around, and we came up with 90's cartoons. And it's funny when you say that. That was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
That doesn't seem
start with
that doesn't sound right.
Wow.
So we brought Cody in because Cody's a little bit younger than we are, so this is more his wheelhouse. But
Oh, yeah.
we figured this would be an interesting topic for today.
Those are some good shows. Now,
Oh, yeah.
and I remember watching a lot of those with my brother, who Meat Shield J, who is younger than me, and when we were in high school, it gave me an opportunity to watch these cartoons.
Oh yeah,
and
you
those
got,
were great.
you got to play with
man.
toys and stuff,
Heck
and you
yeah,
say, hey, I'm playing with my brother.
Yeah,
and
heck
it's
yeah.
really for you.
So let's kick it off, man. Let's talk about some stuff.
Well, where to begin? Oh my gosh, there were actually some really good cartoons in the 90s.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite one, I guess, was Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, such a
Very
good series.
good.
Yeah, I mean, what do you, Cody? Tell us, your experiences with that show.
Oh, man. I have so many memories of that show. Mr. Freeze being one of them. I know it's random, but
Oh, that was such a good character.
yeah. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it brought in Harley Quinn. Oh,
She was written for one episode,
okay.
and I guess was supposed to be like a throwaway henchman
Yeah, I think so, but it becomes so popular.
that she
Yeah.
kind of willed herself into being canon.
Yeah, I think, but for sure, that's the first time on outside of a book.
Yes.
I think with her
Yeah.
in it. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, she was originally designed for the show.
But you're right, Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is one of my favorite
Oh my
villains from the Batman Rogues Gallery. It's just something about him and his story, and they depict it very well in the,
Well, I like that
show.
that version of Mr. Freeze because he is not inherently a villain.
Right.
He's more of a tragic character with what happened to his wife, and then what happened to him, and
Yes, of course.
he's just wanting to get. But that's one of the that and probably Clayface. I thought he
Yeah.
was a cool character too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Batman. The best part about him is his villains,
Oh yeah.
But we can't talk about Batman without talking about Kevin Conroy,
Oh,
Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
there was some amazing talent on that show.
Absolutely. You're right. And you talk about Conroy. One of my daughter's classmates is recovering from cancer, and Conroy has a cameo. You can do cameo with him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And her and some of her friends put some money together and got one done for him. And that guy talked for like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because apparently he had a big medical scare or whatever. And it was the coolest freaking thing. And I was a fan of him to begin with, but I'm like, man, that's cool. But Conroy had that voice for it.
Oh, he's perfect. It's perfection. Him and Mark Hamill both. I mean,
Hamill, ridiculous.
If I read a comic book, it's always in their voice.
It's in their voice.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But when you watch that show, it was funny how Batman, his shoulders looked like they were about 8 feet wide, right?
Yeah.
And everything was kind of boxy. The
it had
Batmobile of that era was very
it had
boxy and stuff.
The very essence of Tim Burton. This is going on the highlight reel. Tim. He's going to have too much fun with that. Tim Burton's Batman, the 89 one, because, even the music was, I think Danny Elfman actually had a hand in doing the music for the show, and it had that Gotham feel where everything was dark and just...
Had a more serious feel to it.
Yeah, it did, and, they hit some pretty tough topics, for a quote unquote kids cartoon.
For sure.
There was there was a fair amount of violence in that.
And Batman actually done detective work.
Yeah, actually,
That's something that is okay. We're going to go down the rabbit hole on this one, but that's something that doesn't happen in the live action films. He's Punisher in a cape,
right?
And kind of. Right. I'm not a huge Zack Snyder fan, so I'll probably catch flack for that. But he's not doing the detective work. He's literally the Punisher. He's beating people up. That's all he does. And Batman was very, he could do that, but he was very cerebral, and he was always thinking, and he would be one or two steps ahead of somebody, whether it be, Mr. Freeze or Clayface, whoever. But it was a really good show. I think it was ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
a lot of stuff.
So, Cody, you like Mr. Freeze was your favorite character or favorite villain on that show, I guess, right?
Yeah, the Joker would be an easy answer.
That's an easy answer,
but Mr. Freeze for sure.
Yeah, if you take Joker out of the equation,
well, I think it goes back to Freeze's story. They really did a good job developing
that, and you remember Man Bat on that show as well too. Those were some neat shows because that was this thing is just monstrous, right? And fighting with Batman on that kind of stuff.
And they actually brought that character back, and it was the daughter, because Batman, of course, doing the detective stuff that he did on the show,
right?
He goes back to the guy that was originally Man Bat, and he's like, have you been taking the serum again? He's like, no, it's not me. He said I destroyed all of it. And then
I remember that one now.
And she stuck herself on a piece of glass or something, and it was his daughter or something that was becoming...
I got to go back and rewatch that show.
Yeah, one episode that sticks out in my memory was, I feel like Bruce Wayne was in a dream, but he didn't know he was in... Well, it's like a dream world.
Was that
where he had his parents...
Was that Mad Hatter, or was that...
It turned out Mad Hatter was behind it, yeah.
Oh, I love Mad Hatter.
He had caught him, and everything was perfect, and his parents were alive, and then he goes to read a newspaper or something, and he couldn't read it because
he couldn't read the words.
The letters were all jumbled up, and he ended up figuring out what was going on, and he kind of willed himself, because Batman had that iron will,
right? And
he willed himself to wake up and got out of it.
That's such a go man. I've got to go back and rewatch that. I wonder if that's available anywhere right now.
It's on Amazon and DC.
DC streaming service where it is.
I know it was on Amazon at one time,
right?
So because that's where I was watching it. But it was, it was a really well written. They didn't talk down to the kids. If you go back and watch cartoons from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, a lot of times you dumb it down for the kids,
right?
They didn't do that in that show.
No. And that's still one of my favorites, and it's one of my fondest memories of hanging out with my brother when he was little.
To play with the Batmobile that he got.
Obviously. As a matter of fact, I bought him that Batmobile, the vintage in the box one from Tall Man Toys back a few years ago for Christmas.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, it had been opened but never been put together, so the stickers were still in it and everything.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was
looked up on that one.
That was a pretty... Mike down there gave me a pretty good deal, so be sure to check out Tall Man Toys and our episode that features them. So let's talk about another one, because again, just like on the 80s show, we could go into in depth on each of these, and we will do that in the past because I've had in the past.
That was going on highlight reel, folks.
I'm so stupid. Anyway, I'm dumb. But in the future, we'll do that with each of those because that I know that would be popular. But let's move on to a different show.
Well, one that and then Cody, I know you'll jump all over this one too, was the X-Men animated series in the 90s, 1992 when that one came out, and it hit like a hammer.
I love that.
Oh yeah, my number one favorite.
Is it your number one?
Yeah.
For
That's
sure?
just because they had cable in it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this is a cable guy here. Yeah. The picture of me that I posted with me in my Deadpool costume is with him in his cable costume before I even knew who it was.
He sends me a picture and he's like, is this him? I'm like, yep. So, but, it was pretty much the Jim Lee style. It was the Jim Lee lineup of the X-Men.
For sure.
And I'd say that was probably a lot of people's first introduction.
Yeah, it was. I call it my gateway to nerdom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that was another show that I watched on Saturday mornings with my brother. But
I can remember because I had the actual videotape of Pride of the X-Men. I had that.
And that was from the show.
Was
that one of the series? Of the
that
shows?
was the one that people forget about. They tried to make it was like 89, something like that.
Okay.
And they were trying to launch it, and it didn't take for whatever reason. And then this one come out, and like I said, it hit like a hammer. It was just very popular. The only thing I never could understand for a guy that has a super healing factor, why they always had to bandage his ribs after every fight. I never did understand that.
I never thought about that.
If you see him, he would have the mask on, no shirt, and his ribs were
yeah.
bandaged. So it's like, come on, Wolverine, suck it up, buddy.
Yeah, this was my Saturday morning cartoon. I mean, I remember waking up and that's what's
Well,
on.
the theme song alone.
It has to be the most iconic theme song, along with Spider-Man, Batman, those theme songs, both 90s cartoons. Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, that theme song just, I mean, you were pumped up before the show ever started.
Oh yeah,
Well,
till this day, I hear that theme song.
It's like, and it takes you back, right?
It does.
Yeah, and that series was so popular that Marvel Legends has done those retro carded 6-inch figures from that era and from those shows, and those are so cool, man.
Well, what was neat, they brought in a lot of stories that were popular in the comics.
Right.
Characters like Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister. You're not going to see because the movies did such a poor job with trying to tell a story. I mean, it's still the best Dark Phoenix saga that's been made.
Yeah, for sure.
Was what they did in the cartoon.
Yeah,
it's better than anything that's been made in movies. And I'm like, you've got these little books that lay it out for you. All you got to do is follow them.
Oh yeah. But the cartoon was good. And Cody, what was your favorite? And I'm a villain guy, but what was your favorite villain from that show?
I mean, Apocalypse, I would say, just because he had those big, epic speeches he would give. I mean, the X-Men would be just giving it everything they got, and
he would start off, "I am Apocalypse," and go on some rant.
And I like Magneto on that show.
Oh yeah,
I've always kind of liked him and that aura that he gives off. And the show kind of really did.
Magneto's, him and Dr. Doom are my guys when it comes to villains.
Well, obviously, and he's going to try to steal my toy over here in a minute.
I am. It's going in the backpack.
Well, what about heroes from that? Which one of the X-Men?
I can't say Cable because I remember watching it as a cartoon, and
he's the wild man from Borneo.
I don't know.
I mean, you liked them all so much, I guess.
I guess so. I related to each one of them in a different way, I guess. I guess in the cartoon series, Gambit would probably be my favorite.
I liked Gambit a lot too. There was just something about that guy, and I liked Beast.
It was really cool because
I've got a Beast figure over here. Other than the color, it's a retro figure, but it's not the one with the really dark blue. But I like the guy because he was so very cerebral, right? Cerebral, but he could flip that switch.
he could become the Beast.
Yeah, from being very intellectual and everything else to I'm going to kick your ass now, and it's just how it's going to be. And I dug that about him.
I liked the way they tried to portray Cyclops as actual leader, but like nobody was listening to him.
I kind of figured you'd be a Cyclops sort of guy.
I mean, he well,
Superman, Cyclops, Captain America, all those guys, right?
I really liked what they tried to do with Colossus, but he was so limited in the series,
right?
But they brought in characters, like they brought in Omega Red, which is a cool character,
right?
I think they had like Lady Deathstrike, and
they had so many characters.
I know.
They give a lot of attention to Bishop too. I mean,
yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Bishop was a cool character. I liked him.
Yeah, he was cool.
And I always wanted them to do a live action, and I cannot think of the actor's name, but he was Briscoe County Jr.'s sidekick.
Okay.
And he wore
You lost me.
I don't know.
Oh gosh, we'll have to go back and look that up. But the dude looked like Bishop because he had the hair and he was wearing like the little bowler hat. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like painting him on his eye, give him that gun, you got Bishop. And I just can't think of the actor's name, but he was. Go back and look up Briscoe County Jr.
Yeah, somebody let us know that because Wes is very hung up on this one. We'll have to get an answer for that.
Yes.
What else can we talk about on the X-Men show, though, man?
Well, I mean, they hit a number of different topics, and
okay, the big robots,
the Sentinels.
Yeah. I mean, okay, who's funding that? Because they're like destroying like tons of those every day. Those have to be expensive.
That's a black ops from
taxpayer
dollars.
Who's paying for that shit? That's what I want to know. Because they're getting blown up all over the place. What the crap?
Well, the fact that you build a giant robot to make smaller robots.
Well, and they don't get any better. I mean, like Cyclops burns through him with his eye rays, and Wolverine just cuts through it. Can you not improve the item?
There was one version that they sent against Magneto where it was like all plastic, which sounds good, but you're like, there's got to be some metal wires in there because last time I knew, plastic doesn't conduct electricity.
No, he's gonna overcome that somehow.
But they, racism, whether it be the color of your skin or the fact that you can, control the weather.
Right.
And I remember there was one episode where they were doing the whole no more mutants, and you got the guys with literally like signs that said no more mutants, and they're chasing this one little dude and he goes, man, I don't have any special powers. I just look funny.
Right.
And I think Wolverine ended up saving him and then pretending
the X-Men as a whole is an underdog story.
Oh yeah,
and
it is.
And in the cartoon they depict that. I think that, and I do think that it's interesting that they kind of blend that whole, like with Magneto. It's like, is he really a bad guy, or
if you go into Magneto's backstory, you see really he's just wanting to protect mutants, but he's like, look,
the way he goes about it's different.
Yeah, because Charles is trying to. Hey, we need to get along, and he's like, look, we tried that, it didn't work. He's like, we're gonna do it my way.
Right, and with comics and all these type of genres and stuff, I like to look at, because I always like the quote unquote villains anyway. But you can look at things in a different light that way, right? Mm-hmm. Just like I'm a big Walking Dead fan, but so like what I'm saying is Negan really a bad guy?
Right.
I don't think so. I think that's just how he adapted to the situation.
Notice how he says that when he's got Lucille sitting
I do happen to have Lucille sitting back here behind me. That my brother.
Agree with him, Cody. Just agree with him.
Let me grab this real quick. Let me in. But anyway, but just like Magneto, that's how he chose to adapt to a situation in his life, and that's just how he went with it. And depending on what side of the fence you're on is whether or not you consider that evil or not.
Yeah, you can kind of look at somebody like Magneto and think, what he's saying makes sense.
Yeah.
He's maybe going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And what you were saying, Wes, kind of made me think of an episode with Nightcrawler. And we had he looks like a demon.
Right.
But he's a very religious.
That's right. I remember that about the character because it's so counter
in the
to
comics,
what he looks like.
becomes like a priest, I believe, doesn't he?
And in this episode, I'm pretty sure it was like a mob of religious people wanting to essentially kill him. They didn't say that in the episode, but because he looked like a demon, and I thought that was really interesting.
They just assumed by the way it
Yeah.
looks that,
But I mean, there was a lot of that, and how they told the stories, you know, and it kind of goes like back to Batman. You know, there were some episodes you're kind of like, okay, this is filler.
Yeah.
But then there were some episodes where it's like they're really talking.
Yeah, hammering it out.
You know, they're not dumbing it down. They're not watering it down.
Right. And you could tell with the X-Men series that it was created by people that were nerds themselves. And that always adds to it, makes it a lot better.
Well, that's why, like, if you look at the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies,
oh, yeah.
they're so good. It's because he was a Spider-Man fan.
Well, and it's probably why some of these films are not good.
Yeah, you've got people that
Because
just...
you got people that make them that just not,
They're just wanting money, you know.
and it doesn't work and it backfires.
Well, I mean, you can see when the effort is put into it. Like, if you look at, like, the Marvel movies, they're trying very hard to make everything one cohesive story, even though it's, you know, different movies.
Right.
And DC's kind of all over the place because,
Right.
and I think, my opinion here, folks, so don't take it out on anybody, but I think DC is more about, hey, we've got to make the money, and the stories and the characters are secondary. And I think that's why.
And that makes it crap.
I think so.
Yeah,
Absolutely makes
and
it
bringing
crap.
it to all 90s a lot of 90s cartoons were made for toy sales,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, just like in the 80s they were too,
Yeah, and just like the 80s for sure. And cartoons that carried from the 80s to the 90s, like Ninja Turtles. I mean, there's a bunch of them.
Well, I
Dragon
mean,
Ball
like,
Z.
gosh, Dragon Ball. There's that episode. But I mean, I think that the storytelling got better because in the 80s, honestly, it was a 30-minute commercial.
Yeah, I was about to say
Oh,
that
yeah.
exact same thing. It seems like the substance of
I mean,
stories.
apparently it worked on Chad. Just look around.
Look around, yeah. But you're right. No, you're absolutely right. Other than Joe, I think G.I. Joe had a pretty good story in the 80s. But you're right. Batman the Animated Series, the X-Men, and we'll get into some of the other shows here in a minute. They had more substance in the 90s.
Well, Batman was really good. And going back to Batman, like, there would be things that happened in episodes, and he would come back. You know, it wasn't like, okay, it's one and done. You know, there would be consequences for things that happened in certain episodes.
Right. Which in the 90s they did that. I mean, versus Masters of the Universe, which obviously I'm a big fan of, which show actually sucked for the most part. It was bad.
The little comic books that came with the toys were better.
The comics were great and the toys were awesome. The show,
And some shows held up over time. You know, I went
Yes.
back and watched Masters of the Universe. It doesn't hold up as good, you know.
it doesn't.
G.I. Joe doesn't either,
But-
so don't feel bad, Chad.
not too bad.
But you could go back and watch X-Men. I mean,
all day.
I'm 33 years old, and I go back and enjoy every episode.
Every episode. Batman Animated Series
Yeah,
also
same way.
too. And transition, what about Spider-Man?
Oh, that was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
That's another great show.
Oh, man.
And that was one of those cohesive stories where
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Michel
Bill.
J was a huge Spider-Man guy.
dude, I can remember watching that in the dorm room at
Such a
Tech.
good show, though. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
was.
So good.
Well, and it kind of like, you know, X-Men, the theme song, you know, kind of got you amped up for the episode. But the way, and I always liked Spider-Man for the fact that he was the everyman.
Yeah.
He wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't a war hero, anything like that. He was just a regular dude that was just trying to make it.
Got slung right into all this stuff.
Yeah, I actually went back and watched a little bit of that recently, and I noticed something. He never threw hardly any punches in that cartoon series.
Really?
Yeah, it was something weird that I just kind of noticed.
Yeah.
I was like, and then I just kept noticing it, and I don't remember one time he threw a punch.
It's always the web or
It's
get out of
always
the
the
way.
web, yeah.
I mean, maybe that goes along with the reluctant hero kind of mentality of him.
That's a good point.
He didn't really, I mean, he didn't choose it.
Right.
It wasn't like Batman, whose bad past kind of gave him
It
a
forged
reason
him,
to do it.
Forged him into a hero.
And his business acumen, his inheritance was what he was able to do.
It doesn't hurt being a billionaire.
Right. Or mutants or anything like that had the abilities to be able to do it, right? He got it. It was an accident. He didn't mean for it to happen to him. And he got kind of slung into it. And whether he wanted it or not, he had to do it. And he gets a crap beat out of him all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nothing ever seems to, it's not like one of these instant, like, every time Captain America throws a shield, it hits right where he wants it to go. Spider-Man's not necessarily the
Well,
case.
I remember watching an interview that Stan Lee had done, and he was talking about the fact that, okay, there's a supervillain destroying downtown, or I can go uptown and get the drug that'll save Aunt May's life.
Right.
What do I do?
Right. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Right? But it's like...
with moral dilemmas. There was a lot of moral
there was
dilemmas with Spider-Man as well.
And I think they put that into the show. There was a lot of times, like his schoolwork always suffered.
Yep.
And I know something in the comics. I'd read one time that at the same age, Peter's IQ was actually higher than Reed Richards at the same age. So, and Reed Richards is like the smartest man in the Marvel universe.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot is how the smart aspect of Spider-Man, how intelligent he is.
Well, and what was cool about the cartoon was it actually showed him like building his web shooters.
Mm-hmm.
And he would run out of web fluid and have to
improvise. Yeah.
And then there was one when Cody, you may remember it. The Kingpin had the guy that was in the hover wheelchair. Task.
MODOK.
No, it wasn't MODOK.
Not MODOK.
I want to say Task or something like that. But he had built like these...
The Tinker? Is that who it is?
I don't know. But he built the giant spiders that were always like, running around destroying New York and Spider-Man's
It seems like I remember that.
And there was this one great big one. And Peter was getting his butt kicked by it. And he's like, wait a minute. And he takes his web fluid and like jams it in the engines. And it like blows it. Because Spider-Man, he was very smart, but he never got credit for it in the movies. I don't think he was.
No, they
Iron
carried
Man Jr.
Right, and they carried the wisecrack, the smart aleck mentality that they carried it over, but not necessarily the intellect.
He was very smart, and I don't think that they showed that. But now in the cartoon, they actually did show that he's really dang smart.
Yeah. And all the issues he goes through. I feel like that he's probably the one of the more relatable characters,
Yeah.
Being young, he's probably the same age as a lot of us growing up. But very relatable.
I think a lot of people forget that originally Spider-Man was supposed to be like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking earlier because I got this Peter B. Parker figure back here, but I don't know if you've seen the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a good movie.
Oh,
I really
yes,
like that
so
movie.
good.
But it does play on that because every one of those Spider-Men are really smart. They're very intellectual. And it's just cool how that, like Morales, the new one in that world, he's a very sharp kid. But you're right. As soon as it happens to him, his grades start suffering and everything starts suffering, and he gets thrown into this world that he didn't really want to be in.
Yeah, it's like but the great power comes great responsibility. That always kind of gets brought up is if you have the ability to do something, or the talent or whatever, what are you going to do with it?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What else we got here? We could talk about those all day.
Well, I mean, we'll change gears a little bit, and one that was just completely. I don't think it could air today. Johnny Bravo.
Oh, yes, Johnny freaking Bravo. Mama.
Hey, pretty lady. I mean, it was like, the hyper-masculine testosterone. It's like, we turn the knob to 11.
Yeah, and there he is. I love Johnny Bravo.
He's like
the Fonzie on steroids.
Yeah,
he's like the Fonz, Elvis, and like Bruce Lee or something, because he's always doing the karate.
Well, and how he was animated or how he was drawn, he's all the angular face and his
he's got the
flat top
and the
and
big
his
muscles
pointer
and
shoulder.
legs.
Yeah.
Shaped like a Dorito.
He's like, yeah,
And
Little
just an
Johnny
absolute
Bravo.
loser. But I mean, that was just one of those ones because Cartoon Network had a series there where they, and I'd looked this one up because I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but what a cartoon.
Okay.
And they had a little showcase program, and it was like world premiere tunes or something. Because I was looking up dates on things, and it would say like 95, and then it's like first airing, 96, 98, something like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know it. I saw it earlier than that, and I think that's what it was. But Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh,
All
Dexter's
those-
Laboratory.
Dexter's
That's a good one,
Laboratory.
yeah.
Dee, get out of my lab.
Well, when I posted a thing the other day about 90s cartoons, some of the stuff that guys were chiming in on, Luke Petrie was talking about Animaniacs.
Oh, that's on the list.
Yeah, okay.
That's on the
I
list.
feel like it's another one that probably couldn't air today.
No.
Hello, nurse.
Hello. I still do that sometimes. And
How's that
it's-
work out for you?
Well, Julie doesn't seem to mind
Julie
that.
okay with it? Yeah, right.
But I can remember that was like just a gag
Yeah.
for so long because
They would say it to anybody. It didn't matter if there was a nurse.
we did that. We did that in college. Yeah, okay. We your buddies and the pretty girl. And hello, nurse.
And it, all,
But
it comes
then,
from those cartoons.
and somebody walk in with a plate of food and hello, nurse. And it was just something funny that was said. But yeah, I agree with you. There's no way that show gets made today.
No, but it was so funny.
So funny.
It was all over the place.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about it. You're right. It was
That and
everywhere.
the when they would sing the states and the countries of the world.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh.
As fast as they could.
Oh yeah,
And it's and he's actually
he's actually saying it. Which
I
is
remember
nuts.
a kid growing up. He could recite that whole thing as fast.
wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like, man.
It's a cool kid. He's watched a lot of Animaniacs.
Animaniacs.
Yeah. Luke also mentioned, and every time anyone says, "Hey, what are you doing today?" Same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Pinky and
Pinky and
brain.
the
In the
brain.
brain, yeah. But it's one of those things, and you said it, and Luke had mentioned it, but that made me hello
Hello
nurse
nurse,
thing.
yeah.
It's just something that just harks back to that.
Well, me and Julie will do stuff. I'm sure you and Kayla will do something similar. But it's like, what are we doing? Trying to take over the world.
Oh, yeah,
just even if it's not the full bit.
Yeah,
it's-
that's said at least once a month in my house.
Only once.
Maybe more.
Yeah. But those are good ones, man.
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean-
those sets are good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I may catch some flack on this. I don't know, but the Powerpuff Girls was actually a well-written show.
I really enjoyed that show. I really did.
I mean, you're a villain guy, Chad, but I mean, Mojo Jojo. I mean,
I've wanted to make that costume for so long.
I am Mojo Jojo, and I am the one who will be making the costume, and the costume shall be made by me, and I am Mojo Jojo, and that shall be my specification. Because he would go on these long rants, and they'd just be like, "What?" But there was, you had him.
And I never, as a kid, questioned that character. I don't know why.
I didn't either. Looking back on it now, I think they slipped one past us.
One of those times where the adult comedy came in, and,
yeah,
and
there's
kids never knew it.
Well, it was like Miss Bellum. You never saw her face, but you knew she was a redhead, and you knew she was curvy.
Again, probably wouldn't work out these days.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was one of those ones, their little telephone would ring in school. What, Mayor? We're on our way. And they go fight the mayors.
yeah.
But you had. I don't think you get away with those shows, but
No. The Tick.
Oh God,
Luke, Spoon. And they made the what was it, Netflix series they made of that recently?
they had
so.
a.
It was
I
an
think
Amazon.
Fox had.
Something like that. I watched some of those.
It might be
What
on
is
Fox
it?
Amazon.
had a show, like a live action show.
Yeah, it was a live action show.
No, this was actually on Fox Network, and then they made one. Amazon made one, or Netflix, or somebody.
It wasn't
made
as
one.
good as the cartoon. I watched some of it. It was
The cartoon was hilarious.
It was.
Just when you see, you see a hero, and you always think of all the good that they do and how they help, and here is one that has no clue what's going on and causes more problems than he fixes.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was based off a comic book. So
Luke also mentioned another one that probably wouldn't work out too well today, Futurama, which was late in the 90s, 99, I think.
was it 99?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
That,
It still airs today, though.
Does it
it
really?
does.
Yeah,
But, I mean, would you
maybe.
count it as a cartoon or more of an animated series like The Simpsons?
Well, maybe so.
I
Maybe
mean,
so.
that
Funny fact. I was never allowed to watch The Simpsons growing up.
Really?
Never seen an episode.
Oh man,
Ain't that weird?
it tells the future. You know that, right? It
does. I've seen all the memes.
Yeah, it does. It's scary.
that is some freaky stuff. But what about other 90s stuff you got over on your list?
When you think of 90s cartoons, Ninja Turtles was in the late 80s and into the 90s, and
I will allow it.
Well, actually, we could make a whole episode on Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, Turtles.
Dude, we can make a whole episode on each turtle.
Yeah, that's true.
Cody is a big Ninja Turtle fan, by the way.
Go.
Yes, I am.
Good to know. So, he's got a tattoo of Ninja Turtle stuff right there.
But when it got into the 90s, the Ninja Turtles had already made over $1 billion. So everybody wanted to hop on that bandwagon, So that's when you seen stuff like Battletoads. You seen stuff like the Street Sharks, which was...
It was Ninja Turtles, yeah.
It was Ninja Turtles, yeah. Except they hated pizza.
Which was...
I mean, that's like a direct ripoff is what it is.
Well, it was like Eastman and them, they referenced Daredevil because, Daredevil fought the Hand.
Yeah.
Well, Shredder led the Foot Clan.
Oh, yeah.
Clan, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But, I mean, I love the character designs, especially like Bebop and Rocksteady.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
They were. I mean, you got a warthog and a rhinoceros as your henchman. I mean,
well, now Turtles came from a black and white comic, right?
Yeah,
and it was very dark,
very serious.
Well, they killed Shredder in like the first couple issues, didn't they?
Maybe, but
it was a different kind of a deal.
Yeah, when the cartoon first started, it was a little bit, it's still a cartoon, but it was more serious, and then got
campier,
a little goofier as it went on. But Shredder's one of the to me most iconic villains.
Well, he got played as a goof on the show, but I don't know if you've seen the animated, what is it, Batman and the Ninja Turtles, or Batman meets the Ninja Turtles. Or,
yeah.
But
I've read the book.
Well, dude, you need to see the fight between Shredder and Batman.
Oh, I have not seen.
I mean, because it's like Shredder's a full blown ninja and not just.
Oh, yeah.
You know how he was on the cartoon. I mean, he goes toe to toe with Batman. It's wicked, and that's coming from a guy, Marvel fans. I'm like, they did a really good job, and I think we can all agree that Leonardo is the best turtle.
I don't know.
We'll approach that later.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I just do that because Cody is a Michelangelo fan.
But Turtles was your thing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely my thing. And then I guess that's what sparked me into liking Street Sharks. It started. I don't know if I got the date wrote down, but it started 93. So I was at that prime age of just watching Street Sharks. But even as a kid, I seen the parallels. Like, oh, this is just like the Ninja Turtles.
Well, it's probably like us and Thundercats and Silverhawks. Silverhawks was basically Thundercats in space.
GoBots and Transformers.
GoBots actually came out first.
Yeah, but it sucked.
Well, I didn't not disagreeing with you on that.
And then the Turtles had the iconic phrase "Cowabunga."
Cowabunga.
Oh, yeah.
Street Sharks had "Jawsome."
I forgot that.
Jawsome, that's great. I'm going to use that today if I can.
And if you haven't seen the Street Sharks commercial with Vin Diesel,
I do remember that.
Cheesy and hilarious.
Have to go back and look at that for sure.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to see some things other people. Luke Petrie, he gave us a bunch of comments, but another one, Beavis and Butthead. Oh yeah. See,
I don't know if that's cats.
Hell yeah.
To me, that's kind of like Futurama and the Simpsons. That's kind of an animated show.
Yeah.
More so than a cartoon. Potato.
Yeah,
I feel like it still falls under the category.
Now not all that many kids watched that show.
I can remember coming home from football practice, Chad. It was on MTV
and watching it. Of course.
Fire.
Now, Cody, you mentioned some other ones on our Facebook: Beast Wars and Gargoyles.
Oh yeah,
I hadn't got
good
Gargoyles
shows.
yet. Gosh,
going back and looking at Beast Wars, God, the animation was horrible. But as a kid, I loved that show.
Well, I mean, it was cutting edge 3D computer.
Yeah, I think it's when it
technology
first started taking off.
Yeah, so best you could get out of that 486 processor.
And then I was always a Bumblebee fan when it came to Transformers. Then you had Bumblebee-ish character of Cheetor. Is that what his name was in the show?
See, I didn't
On
really
Beast Wars?
watch. I didn't watch Beast Wars.
Oh, okay.
I did see the episode like where they found the Ark and like, what was the? It wasn't Optimus Prime. It was
He was a primate.
Optimus Primal.
Something like that. I can't
He was the
remember.
gorilla, and he took like Optimus Prime's spark and then
Yeah.
became like this giant new toy. Character.
Definitely for toy sales, for sure.
Obviously.
They all got new characters, or whatever. But that was one I don't know, for me it just didn't. It wasn't Transformers.
Right. It was them just trying to. Transformers was dying down. They
Trying to
wanted
breathe new life into it.
breathe new life, sell more toys, pretty much.
Yeah.
What?
What? Selling toys?
Selling toys was their primary goal? I am shocked. But now you talk about you'd mentioned Gargoyles.
Yeah, my brother actually, Meathead Jay sent me a message this morning and said, don't forget to, because he was going to call in, but he didn't get to because of work. But he said, make sure you mention Gargoyles.
That
yeah,
was
for
a
sure.
really well written show.
I'm
And
very
didn't-
surprised that they haven't created a live action version of that yet.
Disney did not put their name all over it like they did some, because it was on like Disney's.
Yep.
Whatever their.
You can watch it on Disney Plus now, I think.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think. But like they had like a kind of, I know WB had what was it, WB Kids, and
Right.
Disney had like some kind of block of cartoons. I can't remember what it was called.
You had Fox Kids, and then WB had a bunch. Then you had Nicktoons. I mean, the 90s was
USA had Cartoon Express, man.
yeah.
It's a big resurgence of cartoon, or not necessarily a resurgence, but a carryover from the 80s, I
But
guess.
it was a really well written show, and it was dark. And
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about stuff like gun violence,
Mm-hmm.
because they actually had characters die
Yeah, they
in the
did.
show, and it was. I think the final season, I think they had different people, showrunners.
I
think
don't
it kinda
remember much about
changed.
the final season. I was doing a little research on Gargoyles because I don't remember much of like certain episodes or anything. So I was trying to do a little research. But what I found out is a lot of the voice actors are a lot of Star Trek characters.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't know
Jonathan
that.
Franks was the main bad guy.
No joke, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Zomatod or
Number one was the bad guy?
yeah, and Counselor Troy, Rena Sirtis was the voice
Heck.
of the female gargoyle that was.
Yeah.
Must have been
She
what
was
they did
kind
on
of
the
bad,
off-season.
kind of not bad.
Spock done one of the voices. I can't really remember which.
No
but-
joke.
Yeah, they
I'll
had-
have to go back and watch some
Yeah,
of
they
this
had
show.
some really good voice actors on it, and like I said, there was some heavy topics that they
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
got
for
into.
sure.
But the look of the show, it had that
Oh, yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It would put you in mind of Batman, the animated series.
The big shoulder, the
Well,
Dorito.
Goliath,
Yeah.
well, Goliath was the leader of the gargoyles, and
Yeah.
he was the big, But then they had some that were like scrawny, that were they were younger gargoyles.
I don't remember his name, but you had the chubby one that always had fat jokes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're,
it's
there's-
equal opportunity. There's got to be.
Yeah, but it was
Broadway. That's his name.
Broadway.
Oh,
But, yeah, so that was a good one. And this is one, just because we grew up with Looney Tunes,
yeah.
Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons.
Yeah.
Holy cow! There's another cartoon that doesn't get made today.
For sure.
I was trying to see, somebody had mentioned Tiny Toons in their, or at least the likes.
And that's another example of trying to breathe life back into, because I guess at that point, Bugs Bunny and them.
Bugs Bunny was probably 50, 60 years old.
Yeah,
at
they're
that
going on
point.
50 years old, I'd say, at least.
But it was neat because it wasn't like a reboot where you just take the characters and you start. These were new characters and they were different, but they were similar enough that you.
Mm-hmm.
It still got the same feel of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you had Buster and Babs Bunny,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and she was by far the better character because she was smart, she was funny. Everybody wants that strong female character. Well,
There it is.
There it is, yeah.
but just some of the storytelling that they did, and like some of the jokes, and it was, another one I think kind of influenced Animaniacs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Talking about strong female characters, I mean, that makes me think. Going back to X-Men, Storm in some ways was almost like a leader of the group.
She was.
Oh yeah.
And this was right
leader,
before the in the comics they had X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold,
Right,
and she led one of the teams.
Yeah.
And
She was a dominant character in the show.
But she had, she was they showed her claustrophobia because she was very claustrophobic. And, so you could be strong and still have a weakness, but she would find ways to overcome it.
Yeah, that makes these characters more relatable.
Yeah. I mean, where some of these, are just kind of, fun, Animaniacs, you just watch it. It's just a relief. You just kind of, okay, it's just funny. I don't have to think too much on this. I can just enjoy it.
Ty Taylor wrote in and said Space Ghost.
Space Ghost.
Yeah, he actually said that he should come on and quote the entire Macho Man episode, as well as
we might have to get Die Hard Derek in to do that.
As sing Brack's backyard barbecue.
That was a funny show, and because they'd taken old cartoon clips and cut it up and actually made. There's one he was interviewing Metallica.
Oh gee.
just the nonsense
awesome.
that Space Ghost would go on.
Yeah,
and that was one I didn't think about.
yeah. Saying Macho Man, I don't mean to jump from show to show here, but
we're all over the place, man.
We have
Jump away.
We have no real design here. Go ahead.
but Macho Man done a commercial for a 90s cartoon of SWAT Cats. I don't know if you all remember that.
I
Never
remember
heard
the
of
show. I
SWAT
didn't watch
Cats.
it.
It was really Top Gun, just action.
Didn't they
packed.
build? They built like a super airplane out of like spare parts or something.
Yeah. I mean, it had so much. I don't really remember much about it, but I definitely remember that Macho Man commercial.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, the Macho Man. The madness is running wild here on the Nerdy Old Men podcast.
There we go. Well, you're supposed to do the Ric Flair.
Woo!
Don't you do the Macho Man?
No, that's Derek.
Okay, all right.
He's Sting,
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that about your cosplay group towards the end of the show. But
now this is one I don't know if anybody remembers this or not. I liked it because I was a big Conan fan. But Conan the Adventurer.
I don't think I ever watched it, and I like Conan.
It was watered down. Conan
It'd
the
have
Barbarian.
to be. It'd have to be watered down.
Because he's fighting the Snake Men.
Yeah.
And him and his Star Metal sword, because they were after the Star Metal, which was like meteorites that had fallen to Earth, and I just remember he would hit them, and they would turn into their snake form and run off or whatever. But he had a shield, which was I thought was unusual for Conan because he never had a shield in the movies.
He was a barbarian. Yeah.
But he had a phoenix that lived in his shield and would eat pomegranates. That was his big thing. He was always looking for pomegranates. And but it was one of those shows. A lot of action, fightings, but nobody ever really. But it had like a dark turn to it because if I remember right, I think that I want to say it was Thulsa Doom, but I may be wrong on that. But had turned Conan's parents into stone, and so he was trying to get something from Thulsa Doom to get break the curse and get his parents back.
I did not know that show.
Yeah, 92 to 93. So it was like
Wow.
small.
I don't remember that one.
So
I guess the only cartoons I was watching during that time were the superhero ones with my brother, and going back through the post that I made the other day. And if you guys haven't figured out, when you see a post on Facebook asking questions, it's typically because we're prepping for a show. Surprise there, you know what I mean? But
hey, we are all about catering to the fans.
well, and actually, I appreciate it. We had 44 freaking comments on
wow.
this thing, and guys that interact, and Cody gave a bunch of good stuff too, knowing that we were going to have him on the show too. But we appreciate that. Ben Goodman, Kevin Alexander, Jason Llewellyn, Ty Taylor. I know I'm going to miss some people. Luke Petrie gave a bunch of good stuff. Adam Prince, man, we got all kinds of guys on here that gave a bunch of good stuff, and I appreciate that because some of these things I had totally forgotten about.
Well, I mean, that's just the mind. It goes. And
What else we thinking? Anybody have any key points that they wanted to get across?
Well, another 90s cartoon that I really enjoyed as a kid, but I went back and watched recently, and it does not hold up at all. But it's Captain Planet.
Captain Planet. Somebody mentioned Captain Planet in something recently. Captain Planet. How does it not translate?
Going back and watching it, it's obviously cheesy. It's a bunch of one-liners, but at the time, I loved that show. I mean, you've got as a lot of these shows do, you've got your teamwork, you got your relatable characters. Doing research on it, it was what's his name? Tim Turner?
Ted Turner? Yeah.
Ted Turner, yeah.
Wanted to be like an environmentalist or something.
Oh, yeah.
That was just his little
attempted stab at that.
Well, I mean, when you own your own network, you can do stuff like that.
Right.
That would be another thing that I want to talk about in another episode when we get Perfect Pat on there is the whole, Ted Turner got into the wrestling stuff with WCW.
Got into the wrestling business.
Stuff with WCW, and how that was really just a big,
God, I miss NWA wrestling. Not WCW, not WWW. Whatever they're on now. What letter are we on now?
I'm an Attitude Era guy.
Attitude Era.
I'm a Federation era, but I remember NWA wrestling.
Right.
Right.
So, but seeing how we're.
You get anything else? You got something?
Well, I mean, we can talk about stuff for. I mean, I got the patience.
Well, Cody gave us a bunch of really good ideas for today, and that's why we're glad that he came over and is the first guest to actually get to use our new fancy
and it's
equipment.
nice too.
Yeah, and it even smells new already. But so that's really good. And he was prepared to help us, but is he prepared again to be hit by the Nerdy Old Men Rapid Fire Question Session? All right, Cody.
Oh, here we go.
Wes, we'll let you begin.
All right, I'm right out of the gate. Favorite 90s cartoon?
X-Men.
X-Men, all right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Chad's just really wanting to use these buttons, folks.
All right. We heard this answer a little bit before, but since it is one of your favorite genre or favorite licenses, Ninja Turtles, who's the best one?
Michelangelo. Personal favorite. With the honorable mention to Donatello because he's smart and he can kick your butt,
I like it.
But he's a leader. Okay, Cody. If you could be in a 90s cartoon, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say X-Men just because I would like a superpower, but man, a lot of people die on that shit. I don't know. I'm gonna go with it. Let's
need a safe show here. Where's Captain Planet at?
Yeah, let's go with Doug. Nobody got hurt in that show.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, we already hit some of those already. Okay. We talked about your favorite Batman animated series villain. Mm-hmm. Okay. Excluding Batman himself. But what about his allies? Who you think is probably the best one or maybe the most underrated one in that show that helped him out?
Let's see. Oh, that's a tough one.
I'm always throwing the hard ones out.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I mean, easy answer is Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Robin's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a good one.
I always liked Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, I was always
like
like Gordon.
Really
too,
good
yeah.
role on that show.
Yeah. It was one of those also where he's very reluctant. He hated the help, and it took him a while to decide he really needed it. And
I like the fact that Gordon was like the only honest cop.
Yep. And
in Gotham.
That's right. Yeah.
So, okay. If you get to bring a 90s cartoon back, Cody, what are you bringing back?
Let's not bring X-Men back because it's perfect the way it is.
Yes.
Let's see. Let's bring Street Sharks back.
He's going to do the Street Sharks.
Jawsome.
All right. Obviously, every cool, wicked, awesome cartoon or television show, you got to have some really neat vehicles or some sort of accessory that it has. Reach back there into those 90s cartoons and grab something and bring it into your real life that you'd have every day. What is it going to be?
It's going to be the Turtle Van.
There you
That
go.
thing had everything.
And it's sling pizzas too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
So you got to attack people and have a snack.
Is
all at
April
the same
driving
time.
it though?
Well,
Do
you
you get
never
to bring
know.
the redhead with you?
Can I bring April back?
Does not care for the van.
Okay, now if you got to remake a 90s cartoon, Cody, make it any way you wanted, however you saw fit, what show are you doing a remake of? I love watching his face. He's just
Yes, he's thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm picturing it in my head here. Let's see.
all these hard-hitting questions on the Real Men podcast.
Yeah, let's go with Ninja Turtles because I don't care too much for the remakes. So
I would have to agree with you on that. I've watched some of them and I'm like,
Yeah.
I would like to make my own version of the Ninja Turtles. It would be a little bit more like the old comics, or actually the new comic Last Ronin. I would love to see a series on that, live action or
something a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
All right, my last one is I had it and now I've lost it. So let's see. Okay, since you are Cosplay Cody, if you were going to, or maybe you're already planning on it, if you're going to create a new cosplay, a new wicked awesome cosplay to go to con out of a 90s cartoon, what would you do?
Shredder.
Oh, that would be so cool.
And I say that because
not that we've already talked about that.
I'd say that because it's in the works.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Stay tuned for that one.
Just get all these little nuggets of information.
Going back to Street Sharks, that would be a killer costume.
I actually followed a guy on Instagram that him and his buddies did Street Sharks.
Oh my god,
That's ridiculous.
It was amazing. I think they got like second place in like
of course, yeah,
Orlando or something.
That's crazy.
One of the cons down there, and I was just like, but it was a neat build to watch because they had the full body. I mean, and it looked like the toy.
That's crazy.
The toy.
Bring us home, Wes.
Cody, does pineapple go on a pizza?
Well, I said yes last time. This time I'm going to say no.
Watch him flip flop, folks.
No, but I do like pineapple on pizza.
That's good stuff. Good job, Cody. Woo! The crowd goes wild. No, that's good stuff. Hey, speaking of Cody and his cosplay stuff and his business, you hit a milestone recently.
Yes, I think my wife Kayla was looking at something on my shop. I can't remember what it was, but she was like, "Did you know you hit 100 sales?" I was like, "No way."
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah, she sent me a screenshot, and I was like, "Oh man, it's kind of cool."
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man.
So you can go check out Cody on Etsy at 865 Cosplay Studios.
Yeah, that's my Etsy page.
So go out there. He's got some really neat stuff on there. It's all handmade.
Yep.
Right here from this gentleman.
Yes.
You can catch him on Instagram at cosplay_Cody.
Yep. And Facebook, cosplay_Cody.
Yes.
On Facebook as well.
Yes, yeah. And go back and listen to our episode number 13, Adventures in Cosplay with Cosplay Cody, which is one of our top 10 listen to. I think it's number 7 or number 8, which is really
cool.
freaking good,
Wow.
man.
Yeah.
And so go and check that out. And the links to his social media and his store on that episode, we will also put it on this one as well.
I appreciate
and recently we made a Facebook post about your milestone there of 100
Thanks,
sales.
guys.
So
Congratulations on that, buddy.
Let's double that sucker here pretty soon.
Yeah, let's
So-
get Cody so much business he can't get caught out.
There you go.
He's like, shut up, Wes, shut up.
My fingers hurt from all the work, but all right, guys, we and ladies that listen to the show, we appreciate you listening to our newest episode, and I hope that we sound better. At least in my headphones, I think this sounds pretty good.
Much better.
This is a neat setup we got from Rode, and we're real happy to have this, and we just want to make a better show for everybody, and we appreciate everybody interacting with us.
Yeah, and you can interact with us. You can check us out nerdyoldmenpodcast.buzzsprout.com. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's buttons to all our social media. And if you'd like to help the show continue to grow, check out our Teespring page. We've got some neat stuff on there that you can order. And the link for that is in the show description.
Each show description, yeah, it just says get our swag and merch, and you can click right on that. It'll take you right over there to that.
Or if you're so inclined, you can go to our donation page.
Yes.
And drop us a little change there.
Yep.
We invest that back into the show.
Yeah, every bit of that goes back. Same thing with the shirts. Of course, everything on Teespring we've got super cheap, so we don't really make much of a profit at all on that.
But it just kind of gets the word out.
Yeah, we do.
But, it would mean a lot to us if you'd go check that out, or, just stop by Facebook, Instagram, say hi, let us know that you're listening, what you like, what you don't like, how we can improve the show. And if you've got any show ideals, throw them out there because we may use them.
We will most likely use them. Yeah. I mean, we do this for everybody to listen and enjoy it anyway, so we will do that. And we've got some, Mr. Jason Llewellyn has given us a couple really good ideas, and we're going to hit a couple more of his coming up.
That takes a lot of pressure off us, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does, because my brain just doesn't freaking work sometimes. So, but we're going to do that, and let's see, we got a big contest coming up soon. We'll talk about that real soon. And we're hitting an on location next week.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up for one. I know I mentioned that an episode or so ago, and I'm stupid, and that wasn't accurate. It's next week is we're gonna do it, but anyway, so it's gonna be some pretty exciting stuff. So
yeah, so we want to really say thank you, Cody, for coming and helping us check out the new equipment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys
So
for the invite.
when we're on location next week, we actually know what we're doing.
That's right. That's right. And so we're going to sign off here, and Cody can look real judgy at a couple of my cosplay items in here because they're not nearly as good as
No, they're great.
Is. But until next time, this is the Old Bald Man Chad. We have Cosplay Cody.
Hey.
Yeehaw.
Redneck Wes.